So here, oh, going back to previous slide, hold on. So here, our previous slide, Confucius talked, that moral principle, this is a principle, ideology. So a scholar, that is also same as a superior man. So they are so concerned with the truth. If this person ashamed of bad clothes, bad food, not fit to be discoursed with. He is not like among my group of people, right? That's what he says. So in this book, he continues this tone, like a moral tone of modesty. But in reality, the same book of Confucian Analects are full of these stories. So who else wants to read? Lauren Gennardo?
Yes, which one should I read?
Chapter 5, 6, 9 all together. So chapter 5.
Okay. I should like having chariots and horses and light fur clothes to share them with my friends. And though they should spoil them, I would not be displeased.
Next.
How do you say that? Chi?
Lu.
Okay. I don't know how to say that.
Well, that's okay. You read it well. And then let's go to chapter 6. Chi. This person is a Chi.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was asking. When Chi was proceeding to Chi, he had fat horses to his carriage and wore light furs. I have heard that a superior man helps the distressed, but does not add to the wealth of the rich.
In chapter 9.
Dressed himself in a tattered robe quilted with hemp, yet standing by the side of men dressed in furs, and not ashamed. It is you who is equal to this. He dislikes none, he covets nothing. What can he do but what is good?
So in this case, who are the superior men?
The superior man will be the one who thinks of others.
That is?
In chapter 9.
Exactly. Very good. Yeah, chapter 9.
One dressed in a tattered robe.
So we don't know what this particular man's name is, right? But a master praises him, right? Like he wore a humble clothes, but he's not ashamed of him. You, who's equal to this? So the superior man is you that mentioned in chapter 9. What about this man named Chi? Does master approve Chi's behavior or not?
Not exactly. I don't think the master really liked Chi.
Right. Like he said, well, a superior man helps the distressed, and then they don't, not like Chi, who had a light fur. So these are the choices that I choose. So, Confucian Analect is a long document. And you will hear from it today and then later when we study Chinese art. But because it's such an ancient text, in Chinese people or Korean people's mind, this idea always lingers. So what superior men do in terms of dress. He's not ashamed of humble clothes. He does not boast of his clothes, right? Like that's what the lessons that they learned. But in reality, as Confucius himself talks a lot about light fur clothes. I mean, we don't know exactly what light fur clothes is, but this is more like the one I mentioned earlier about, silk jacket lined with fur. It's very light, easy to move around, so that everybody can tell that wow, it's so comfortable and luxurious looking, right? I wish I had one, but people cannot afford to have those things. So the reason I am referring to this is, so historical documents keeps talking about virtue of modesty, what a superior man should do. But in material culture, especially what we excavate from archaeological sites, from ancient period and so on, material culture really shows a lot of examples of that, not just light fur, like a beautifully brocaded silk robes worn by high society people, and then their gold decorated arms and armors, And then, chariot and horses, you can see those are equally status symbols, right? Like as if it's a nice car. We have those examples, and we have a lot of jade accessories adorning the beautiful jackets and so forth. So, the literary culture, if you read only Confucius, you will realize that, well, so Chinese people had like their modest clothes, but it's not true. In reality, they were doing so much of these luxurious indulgences. That's why Confucius was talking about it. So in terms of clothing culture, what we can imagine for that period of 6th century BCE is it was full of expensive, luxurious, outstanding clothes. But the philosopher, there are not many remaining records, so that his voice carried such an important value throughout centuries. So as a child, they probably read this text at school, and they know what the virtue of modesty is. But in reality, just like any human society, they want to show off their social standing and their wealth with clothes. So I want you to be aware of those. So that there are a lot of virtuous action that virtuous action by master himself and then other noble characters. So for example, here the superior man did not use a deep purple or a puce color in the ornament of his dress. Even in his undress, he did not wear anything of a red or reddish color. In warm weather, he had a single garment, either of coarse or fine texture, but he wore it displayed over an inner garment. Over lamb's fur, he wore a garment of black. Over fawn's fur, one of white. And over fox fur, one of yellow. The fur robe of his undress was long. With the right sleeve short, he required his sleeping dress to be half as long again as his body. So the Confucian analects, they also have a lot of descriptions of some garments. But the reason I am showing you this is this literary description of some clothes. You have clues like, oh, deep purple, or you have this clue of reddish color, right? But then we cannot really reconstruct the garment that they are talking about with these brief descriptions. So that is the dilemma of costume designers. Here and there, we have some written texts, but we cannot really reconstruct it just based on this. But like he talks a lot about the length, like as long as something, right? Or half as long as his body. So meaning sleeping dress would come to the knee area, or is it come to his, let's say, the hip area, right? But it's not enough for us to come up with a styling. Do you see the difficulty here? But again, the color is important. Why he does not wear deep purple or red? Because these are colors of imperial family. You cannot dare to wear these ostentatious colors. So there are a lot of examples. And then mourning, like, this is very important. Like when, as a human being, as a really decent human being, you have to show your responsibility as a grieving descendant to your parents, or grieving descendant to your grandparents. So mourning is very important. And Confucius said you have to mourn at least 3 years. So it's more like a sabbatical break for most government officers. So even though you are the prime minister of the country, your father passed away, what do? You don't stay in the office. Immediately you quit the office and come to your countryside, and then you build a small hut right next to your father's tomb, and then you stay there in 3 years. And Confucius keeps saying that you have to wear humble clothes made of hemp, because you cannot seek for warmth and comfort when your father, your dead father, is lying in that cold tomb. So that is what he is talking a lot. Like, so, this person mourning, he did not wear lamb's fur or a black cap. And then the first day he put on his court robe, presented himself in the court when fasting. So during these 3 years of mourning, you also don't eat much. You barely survive. And then, but even then, you are going to make your clothes clean. So I want you to think about those customs. So it's always in their back of the mind that I have to live a life of virtuous gentleman, a virtuous superior man. But in reality, those rich clothing culture is available.